Hi everyone and welcome back to a new video. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to make a simple sword system that you can use in any game, and it will work with NPCs and other players. Also, if you guys want to support me and want to have access to all of my project files, including the one you're watching right now, they will all be available on my Patreon in the $10 tier. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create the sword that the player is going to hold. So what I'm going to do is go to the toolbox, meshes, and I'm just going to look for a sword. So I'm just going to type in sword, and I'm going to look for a sword that I like. So, okay, so I like this one, so I'm going to use it. Actually, no, I'm going to choose this one. Okay, so this one looks better. So what I'm gonna do is scale it down by holding shift and then scaling it, and I'm going to call it handle. And then I will add a tool to the workspace, and I'm going to grab the handle and put it inside of the tool itself, and I'm going to call it sword. Now what I'm going to do is make sure that the handle is not anchored and that can collide is unchecked. Now you're going to want to download a plugin. I'll leave a link to it in the description, but once you download it, what you're going to do is go to plugins and tool and select your tool, and then just select this tool grip thing, and once you click on it, it will take you to this, and what you're going to do is just position it how you want. So, and if you want to rotate it, just press Z. Then you can rotate it. So what I'm gonna do is just to rotate it like that, and then rotate it like this. And I think that's pretty good. Okay, I think that's good enough. Now maybe I'm gonna drag it like this. Okay, so I think that's good. Now what I'm gonna do is just exit out of the plugin, so just click it again, and then what we're gonna do is drag the sword inside of the starter player and starter pack, sorry. And now what we're gonna do is play the game and see if this works. Okay, so as you can see, I can hold the sword, and I am holding the sword correctly. So what I'm gonna do now is start scripting. Okay, so I'm going to add a script to server script service, and I'm just going to call it swords. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna need two services. So local players is equal to game get service players, and then replicated storage. So local replicated storage is equal to game get service replicated storage. Now what I'm gonna do is create a table, or before that I'm going to need two events. So players.player added connect function, and that's going to take the player, of course, and then players.player removing connect function, again player. And now we need a table for our server-sided debounces. So local swing debounces is equal to, and it will be an empty table. And what I'm going to do now is whenever the player joins the game, swing debounces square brackets player. By the way, don't type in players, make sure to type in player without the S, is equal to false. Now what I'm going to do is if swinging debounces square brackets player, then swinging debounces square brackets player equals nil. So when the player joins the game, we can add the player to the table, and it will be set to false. And if he leaves the game, same thing. So what I'm gonna do now is just print swing debounces, and when I play the game, you should see. Okay, so it prints the table and instance, which is the player instance itself, and it is set to false. Okay, so what we need to do now is just get rid of this print. And what I'm going to do is create a function, so local function, hit. And that's going to basically hit the player. So that's going to take the player who just hit with the sword, and then the sword itself, so sword. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is add a remote event to replicator storage, and it's going to be called swing sword, or maybe hit sword, or maybe swing sword. And what I'm gonna do in here is replicated storage dot hit dot swing sword, sorry, dot on server event, gonna connect, and that's going to take we're just going to put in the hit function. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is in here, when the player swings, what we're gonna do is check if swing d bounces square brackets player is equal to false, then swing d bounces square brackets player is equal to true. Okay, so after doing that, what we're gonna do is get the player's character. So local player character, or maybe just character, is equal to player dot character or player dot character added colon wait. Okay, so what I'm gonna do in here is call this player character, and then we need another variable for the other player that we are trying to hit. So other player character, so other player character equals nil. And what we're gonna do now is, because I'm just going to add some spaces just so that it's easier to read. Now we need a swinging animation, so we need to make one. Okay, so to make a swinging animation, just go to avatar and rig builder, and just choose a block rig, and then we can animate it. So just go again, avatar, animation editor, and just select this, and you can start animating your character. So I'm just going to go here and swing the sword up, and then here we're gonna swing the sword back down. And yeah, now what we need to do is go to these three dots, set animation priority, and set it to action. Now make sure that looped is unchecked, make sure that it's not blue. And now just press these three dots right here. And okay, so I don't think you can see what I'm doing, so I'm going to show my whole screen. Okay, so I'm just going to hide this and enable the display capture on OBS. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is press these three dots, set animation priority, action, and then what we need to do is publish to Roblox. Now what I'm gonna do is just call it swing sword, and then it's going to give you this ID that you're going to copy, and once you copy it, just to put it somewhere. So I'm just going to insert a model to the workspace, and I'm just going to call it the name of just this ID so that I have it in here. Now I'm going to go back into screen sharing my my own screen. So just Roblox Studio. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is insert a okay, so we need to add a module or a folder inside of this sword, and it's going to be called config or configuration, and it's going to have an int value, and it's going to be called swing animation. Actually, no, sorry, it should be an animation. So add an animation and call it swing animation, and then we're gonna set the animation ID to the one that you have right here. So select it, copy it, and just paste it in here. And I have another swing animation which I'm gonna use because I think it looks way better, and I'm not the one who made it. Okay, so now we need to go back into our swords script, and what we need to do is basically we need the swing animation. We need to load it. So local loaded swing animation is equal to player character dot animator dot humanoid, sorry, dot humanoid dot animator load animation, and that's going to take sword dot config dot swing animation. Now what we're gonna need to do is play it. So loaded swing animation play. So just play it. Then what I'm gonna do is loop through every single player in the game and see if he is close enough to the player. Then if he is close enough, then we can damage him. Okay, so for underscore comma player, or maybe okay, so for underscore comma v in players, get players. By the way, make sure that you type in players, not player. So for underscore comma v in pairs, in players, get players. If v.name is not equal to player.name, then what we're gonna do is get the character. So local character is equal to v.character, and then we're gonna check if if player. Okay, so I forgot to add parentheses. Okay, so if player character dot primary part dot position minus and character, this character that we are looping through, dot primary part dot position dot magnitude. Make sure to put the dot magnitude outside of the brackets. Dot magnitude is less than hit range, which will be a variable up here. So local hit range, or maybe sword range, is equal to 3 studs, maybe, is less than 3. Then what we need to do is other player character is equal to character, and then we can just break this loop. Now after doing that, what we need to do is check if other player character is not equal to nil. Then what we need to do is task.defer function, and task.wait something like 0.2, so 0.2 seconds until the animation reaches, so until he reaches half of the swing, maybe 0.2 seconds. And what I'm gonna do is other player character dot humanoid take damage, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add an int value to the sword config, and it's going to be called damage, and I'm going to set that to something like 25. And take damage sword dot config dot damage dot value. Okay, so that's about it. Now what we need to do is a sword debounce. So local swing debounce is equal to maybe 3 or maybe 1 second. So task.wait swing debounce, and swing debounces. Make sure that it's swing debounces, not swing debounce. Square brackets player is equal to false. So is equal to false. Okay, so in here also make sure to check if swing debounces square brackets player, then just in case the player leaves, and the script errors. And yeah, I think this should be it for this server script. Now we will add a local script to the sword itself, and I'm going to call it sword client and local sword. So local sword is equal to script.parent and sword.activated connect function. And now before getting the sword, we need to get replicated storage. So local replicated storage equals game get service replicated storage, and local swing sword is equal to replicated storage wait for child swing sword. Okay, so swing sword fire server, and that's going to, well, we're gonna send the sword itself. Okay, so now we will play the game and see if this works. So by the way, this will not damage dummies or NPCs. It will only damage other players because we are checking if the players are in range. If you want it to damage NPCs too, what I would recommend is adding a folder called NPCs in the workspace, and I'm going to put my NPCs inside of that folder. And in here, what I want to do is we're going to loop through game get players, and we will also, so we'll copy this loop, paste it right here, but this time in okay, so here's what we're gonna do. If this is equal to nil, okay, so if other player character is equal to nil, then just paste that in again, and this time in workspace.npc is calling it children. And if v.name is not equal to player.name, local character is equal to v this time. And okay, I think this should work. Now I'll see if this is gonna work. So I will just do this, and I'm going to swing and get players not a valid member of NPCs. Oh, this should be get children. Sorry. And now if we play the game, this should hopefully work. And okay, so it does damage the NPC, which is great. Now I'm going to test it with players. Okay, so I'm going to screen share, I mean to record my entire screen. And what I'm going to do is go to test, and I'm going to start a 2-player server and see if we can, if the players can damage each other. I'm just going to wait for it to load. Let's check if I'm still recording. Yes. And what I'm going to do is just close these tabs, the Explorer and the properties. And what I'm going to do is try to damage this guy. So, okay, so as you can see, it does hit the player, and the player can hit back. But I think 3 studs is a bit too low. But it does work, and I can also damage the NPC if I'm close enough. So I would recommend you to make this a bit more than 3 studs, which I'm going to do right now. Just enter the sword script and make the sword range something like 5 studs or 6, and I'll see how this feels. Okay, so I think 5 studs is enough. Okay, not close enough. Close enough. Okay, so 5 studs is, I think, perfect. And yeah, that's going to be it for today's tutorial. If this helped, make sure to subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!